You can say that Kol Dmama Daka, which is a revelation state, has nothing to do with Domem.
Okay.
Okay. It has to do with Domem, actually, has to do with, or has to do with being compelled to accept a form. So Vayidom Aharon suggests that that Aharon actually perceived that it's the biggest test of his life,
Yeah.
and he cannot complain.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah, within the circumstance, actually, this is even a bigger revelation, more than what was on the sea, more than Egypt, is the moment, and it's hidden within the text. It's the moment there is an appearance of divinity because they completed the tabernacle. So it's the biggest revelation that were ever, and inside that, and why it's the biggest, because there is a partnership in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something, it's something that was built, a house. In terms of house, it means in terms of shrine, or a space in time in which one can say human and God can, or divinity definitely, because the expression of God can live together. And that is separated from, let's say, the reality which is outside this house.
Mm.
So inside this house, you cannot complain. You cannot, because the moment you complain, you actually present an accusation of the act of the creator. So he's saying that, which is a very difficult. Of course, it's the most difficult moment, and
Mm-hmm.
how we know it's a difficult moment even for our sages, because there are about 200 versions of explaining what they did wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Zohar is
Trying to
saying as
explain
well,
why that would happen. Why would God take their lives?
yes. So there is really a very, on one hand, we can say heroic. On one hand, we can say, sort of pathetic, trying to justify the act of God as though we need to justify it. But it says something about, and this is what I think we at least leads us to understand, that you cannot justify the death of Nadav and Avihu because you cannot justify what you can eat or not eat. Why? Because it's above reason. It's not in the same language. So whenever we try to justify it, we try to justify it with the language of the will to receive. And this is why the Zohar is saying, whoever is saying that they sinned, is actually do not understand the language of what happened. Yeah. So because they did not take wives, because they don't have the vessel of the female vessel, because they sort of tried to overstep Moshe and Aaron, because they they actually isolated divinity. They put her sort of out of the picture, and they brought other gods. But in the end, in terms of the world to come, all foreign gods should be included.
Right.
Okay, so the only thing that we can sort of, within the language of the spirit, that they hasten the end. Okay, they brought the end before there was a readiness of humanity for it. Okay, so they were taken, and they will
Wow.
return into Pinchas.
Wow. That's quite an extraordinary teaching.
Mm.
Would the Rabbah please return to the distinction between Vayidom Aharon and Domem de Kedusha?
So Domem de Kedusha is actually the resistance to change, and Vayidom Aharon is a willing surrender.
How would you translate those two words, Vayidom and Domama, in this context?
No, יש דומם, okay, which is the as actually Baal Sulam is explaining it as it's a state of preservation.
Okay.
Okay, so if you stay in a state of preservation, meaning you resist change, meaning you resist moving into or including in oneself the next evolution of yourself. Okay, so you resist any, and you resist it by sort of giving a resistant pressure to whatever try to penetrate you.
Yeah.
So it's a resistance to penetration. Now, Vayidom Aharon is actually fully being able to fully be penetrated by the state of what is happening.
How would the Rabbah translate that?
Vayidom is um,
we would say silent.
I would say
Is it the sense of being fully present and open?
it's a measurement. I would say that it's more to do with the measurement of surrender.
Okay. I think I understand.
Yeah. Because you have in Vayidom, you have that which measures.
Mm. Okay, yes, I understand.
Yeah.
This is very helpful.
Yeah. So I think it's not that he actually was penetrable, the opposite of Domem, because he measured the importance of it's the word nora. Yeah. What happens is nora in terms of sublime.
Yes.
And sort of the most horrific in terms of perception.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he allowed it to penetrate himself, and then actually there is in the next few verses we see that he's saying to Moshe, well, don't expect us, to move as though nothing happened. Something very important happened. This is why we could not eat. Yeah. And Moshe actually accepted.
Yeah.
So it means he was penetrable to that which happened. He could in himself sort of surrender to it, but yet there is this part of the soul part that it's grieving and therefore it's not able to eat. He's not able to sort out.
Right. Right.
So yeah, so it's actually the most beautiful moment of Aaron, the ability to say I accept, and then say I'm still human. I cannot go on as though nothing happened, and to hold them both. Yeah.